Thank you, Emma. First of all, I want to thank everybody here for coming to Northwest Indian College, but more importantly, the Lummi Nation. If my son was here, he would say the same thing, welcome to Lummi. Please feel welcome. But before we start, I want to acknowledge a couple of people. And one is our friend G.I. James, very important, instrumental individual that helped us not forget what Salish was and what it really means to us. So, G.I., we thank you for being here, and we appreciate your presence. I know I may go out of line here, but I'm going to kind of go out on a limb. We have Randy Kinley Jr. here. We just lost his father, fisherman for 60 years. Every time we lose a fisherman in the community, we lose this much history. So, you know, this Salish Sea Speaker Series is, I think, one of the most important things, how we educate individuals nowadays. But my hands are out to little Randy Kinley and his strength to be here with you guys today. The place we sit on today is Chichusan. Governor Stevens said this is where we should come, so this is where we're at today. However, we lived throughout the Salish Sea, and Caluxton, he comes from a lineage of people from Stolo, the Fraser River. A lot of history in this family, a lot of history in the water. So I want to welcome you guys. Richard is going to sing a song for us, Bless the Table. So elders, visitors, once the table's blessed, the food is blessed, please, you guys go first. I want to recognize Huxley's here.
all to Lummi Territory, Lummi Reservation, and I'd like to welcome some of our visiting elders from Bella Bella. Dolly, for being here today. Nice to see you here, Dolly. And like Tim has said before, that I am, my traditional name, Cluxton, comes from Cooper Island, and in, I think it's traditional territory, it's Connecticut. And that's in the Gulf Islands of Canada. And I have another Indian name that it's Nagatsi, that comes from my mother's side, which is in Wallaca and other Bay. But that just shows how connected that we as Native people, both in Canada and US, are connected. And when you say those names, like our visitors don't understand, they'll say, "Oh yeah, that's where I know where he's from. I know who he is. I know his family." So that's why we introduce our traditional names, so that people and visitors, oh, I knew his grandfather, I knew his grandmother, because those names are passed down to us through generations. I received my name 2 years ago on San Juan Island. We did a traditional naming ceremony out on San Juan Island. That's probably the first time that a naming ceremony has been done in the San Juan Islands in over 200 years. So it was really heartfelt and touching to go back out and do a ceremony in a little secluded bay. Tribes from Salish, Cowichan, Bella Bella was there, a chief, Haidagwai. So it was. So when you give those names, they spread. That tells you who you are. That's why you do that ceremony, to keep those names alive, and it tells who you are, and where you come from, and where you do and what your people do. But I want to, I think, first speak on how I got into a little bit of environmental science. It was a lot of, probably Steve here, Tim could attest to it. It comes from your grandparents. I remember being fortunate enough to have a grandmother that I lived next door to her. We lived on Lummi Shore Road, and by that time my grandmother was getting a little bit older, and she could not make it down to the beach anymore, climb down the bank and make it to the beach and gather her traditional foods that she really enjoyed. So, you know, come about May, June, or July, she would start saying, you know, she'd walk herself out to the porch and she'd let us know that, I want you to go down this way, go down the trail, the tide's out, you go to these rocks, and there's, she says, grab a stick and stick your stick under there, you'll hear them. And there were fish that would come and they would spawn underneath those rocks, and those are called, I think she called them squat. We as kids called them hunters. But that's what she ate in those, you know, on a daily basis when the tide was out. That was her way of life. That's how she grew up. So that is what she enjoyed. So, you know, we'd go down and we'd get them, and that sort of teaching is from a way of life that is gone. You know that. So, and another thing that she taught me, you know, the north wind would blow for days, sometimes for a couple of weeks, north wind, and everything would ice up, and the northeaster would blow, and it, you know, a day or so after the north wind quits blowing, it gets sunny out and everything gets real beautiful and nice, and she would say, go down the beach and walk down towards, it's called the sailing grounds down below, and she goes, walk that way and you'll find the scamo. And what the scamo is an octopus. For some reason she knew, and she was taught as a child, that when the north wind blows, it would kill those octopus and blow them up on the beach. So she would send me down to do that, and there wasn't a time that I didn't find one. So that information is so valuable that could only be taught by a person that lived that life that really depended on that way of life. You know, we don't depend on that kind of a food as much as we would like to. You know, with Red Myers. We don't have to suffer. But those things, I still understand that it made you aware of what the world was all about. And the simple things of gathering food. And gathering food in a way that you know where it's going to be and when it's going to be there. What time of year, what time of the tide. So I think that being able to spend that little bit of time with my grandmother really made me aware of the Salish Sea and the things that are in the Salish Sea. So I grew up fishing with my father, first in the Nooksack River, then graduated out to fishing. I think he ran a boat for Alaska Packers in Blaine there, so we sailed out of Alaska, out of Blaine for a while with Alaska Packers, and that was a really great time for a kid to grow up and listen to the stories of those old men on those sailing boats, and what an interesting way of life that was. And then come along the Bolt decision. That when my dad fished for Alaska Packers, he had to fish under a state license. So come with the Bolt decision, it gave the treaty tribes 50% of the fish. So there we fished under the tribal registration. So, and that was a time of where I think that tribes in the Salish Sea were able to really enjoy that way of life and of fishing, because like my grandmother, before that Salish Sea was so much a part of her that she knew every part of what was going on in the tides and whatever. There was a kind of a gap. So when the Bolt decision comes in, we're relearning how to take care of ourselves and the wellness and the well-being of what the Salish Sea can provide for you, as far as providing food, economy, and just well-being of feeling good about yourself, of who you are. You know, there was a time there in late 70s, early 80s, where fish were very abundant. We were doing really well with the stocks in the Fraser River. Sockeye were good. The pinks were good in the Fraser River, and that's some of the mainstay of the Lummi people, is that Fraser River. So we are invested in the Salish. That's what gets us really invested in the Salish Sea, is because that Fraser River flows into the Salish Sea, and if we're damaging that, then our well-being and way of life is damaged. You know, I might be getting a little ahead of myself, but I forgot to say that our way of life, our traditions, our songs, our dances, have a lot to do with fish. So, and those are old traditions. We just started doing a first salmon ceremony about 20 years ago, and that first salmon ceremony reconnects us back with who we are. And that first salmon story, what it is it's a way of giving back, or giving thanks for that fish giving up its life for you. And we know that that fish gives up its life for us so we could live on and prosper. And what I learned from being included in that first salmon ceremony, is that we as Lummi people here, plus First Nations tribes and that are depend on that Salish Sea and the fish and clams and oysters that grow there, is that a lot of our songs and dances are about giving thanks. And all we know how to do is give thanks. I think as Indian people that we never had a really want, because everything was here. It was here in abundance. So all we ever had to do was give thanks. So that's what a lot of our traditional songs and dances are about, is just giving thanks. And that's what that's what really touched me, is that in this neck of the woods, we're very fortunate as tribal people, you know, non-tribal. It's a beautiful place to live, and you know, we really don't have to want. You know, all we have to learn to do is give thanks. But I'm going to take you on give you a little story about how wellness and a way of life of fishing. When I started fishing in probably 1974, 75, 76, and then with my dad, and then going off on my own in the late 70s, early 80s, that everybody fished, and everybody fished pre-bolt in the river and in the reservational boundaries. But bolt gave us back our rights to fish off the reservation. So back then, you know, there wasn't a cell phone, there wasn't internet, there was nothing that kept us in touch. But there was a thing that was invented that was called the CB radio. So that CB radio was our internet. It kept us in touch. When we were fishing, what was going on at home. Some people had some mobile, our home devices, CDs, and that's how we kept in contact. It was such a great time, way of life, that I had a daughter that was born when I was fishing. So somebody calls from a landline, hey, can you get a hold of Dana? And you know, and it kind of relays up all the way. So Dana, you just had a little girl. So somebody says, next person, can you relay to Dana that you just had a daughter? So that's how fishing kept our community together, and that's how fishing keeps our way of life together. And that's what I talk about wellness of who we are. And it's always been that way for the Lummi people as wellness. And I think without it, that, you know, and we're seeing it, decline of fish. You know, Salish Sea might look pristine, you know, from the beach looking out. But you look from, I think at times from the water looking in, it's a pretty busy place with vessel traffic. You know, and that's one of our biggest fears is vessel traffic. You know, and with Kinder Morgan pipeline coming through, and that, all it would take is one moment, one little mistake. This mistake doesn't even have to be by humans. The mistake could be by electronics. And that can happen because we as humans nowadays, we depend so much on electronics that we actually have lost some of our abilities to react in a way that a human would react. That we don't trust ourselves. We're going to put more of our trust in electronics, satellite, and things like that. But Salish Sea is has such narrow places, I think, for those huge ships to go through as they go down through Harrow Straits and through Boundary Pass. Between Paydos and Saturna is probably one of the narrowest places in the Salish Sea, if not in, you know, in the traffic that those vessels have to travel through their whole journey from here to wherever they're going, California or to wherever they're bringing that crude. And we used to have a herring fishery in the Salish Sea in the early 80s. And for some reason that herring has disappeared. And that's I talked to a biologist about it. He said that's a resident herring. That herring never leaves the Salish Sea. It never leaves the Gulf of Georgia. And that fish, those herring have declined and just about disappeared. And people will point at me right away as a fisherman that you're the problem. But, you know, we haven't fished on that herring for 25 years, I would say.
85.
Since 85. And I don't think those, from what I could see, is that those herring, they're not coming back. And I don't think that's from overfishing. That's from habitat or loss of eelgrass, you know, where they spawn on. And these are questions that we have to ask ourselves and ask people that can answer them. Is that loss of that habitat, is that from ballast waters from these ships? Is there something foreign coming in that's killing stuff in the Salish Sea? You know, and with that, those are things that have to be, I think, really looked at, because those herring are the most important food source in the Salish Sea. With that, they feed, and I remember herring spawns from Hales Pass here all the way to Point Roberts. You know, and you knew when those herring were spawning, you could see, you know, that certain seagulls were diving, the cormorants were diving, seals were there, sea lions were all there. So you knew that those were fresh fish getting ready to spawn. Then after the spawn, a couple, 3 days later, another bird would show up, and that would be the black ducks. And that's what they would call, in Lummies call them chuchak. But those birds would fly by for days, you know, but they were eating that herring spawn. Those birds would get so fat they couldn't fly anymore. But those birds are not here anymore. You don't see them. So it's such a domino effect losing that herring. So by losing that herring, we're losing the spring chinook, the blackmouth, that, you know, our orcas here in the Salish Sea really depend on. These orcas or blackfish here, they don't depend on, they don't eat mammals, all they eat is fish. So how important is that salmon to not only to us as people, mammals, the health of the Salish Sea, and the domino effect of losing that herring. I hope that, and we've seen a big spawn down here last. I seen that there was a aerial photo of a spawn in Hales Pass and parts of Hales Pass, and that's the first time we've seen one in quite a while. So hopefully it's on a rebound. And because that, just with that little bit that is missing of that herring, it affects so much. You know, it's the scary part. Now, you know, nowadays I see a lot of different fish starting to show up. There's a lot of sardines here now that I haven't seen ever in my life. But there's black masses of sardines, not sardines, but anchovies in Bellingham Bay. I was down there last year. I was fishing kings with my son down there. There was black masses of anchovies. And where are they coming from and why are they here? I don't know why. I don't know if they were here or used to be here, but they're here now. So something's changing. Something has altered or changed the conditions, the water conditions of the Salish Sea. That's, you know, that's something we have to really look at. And why are these fish showing up that we haven't seen here in a while, or we have never seen? You know, like, is it water conditions? Is it loss of habitat where they used to be, where they don't have a place to be? Or you know, I can't quite figure it out. But I think that's a southern fish. So is things changing? But I think to get back to, you know, I think we're going to have to start really getting together as communities and tribes and getting the users groups in a room and being able to talk to each other without pointing fingers at each other and saying, this is what we need to do. We got to get the sportsmen, tribes. The tribes have a great relationship with the state commercial fishermen because they realize If the tribal fisherman is gone, they're gone. So, and I think with the user group, with the sportsmen, if we can get them everybody in the same room, looking in the same direction as to save the fish or how to produce more fish, that'll be the biggest hurdle. You know, because it's easy, it's always easy to point the finger at somebody else and say, it's your fault for the decline. You know, if you start doing this, maybe we'll get some more fish back. You know, but now is the time, I think, to get everybody in the same room and figure out how to produce more fish for the Salish Sea. You know, that's only going to happen with hatcheries. I hate to say it, but that's the only way it's going to happen. Our habitat is gone. Our watersheds, you know, need a lot of work. And that's for that watersheds and our rivers to come back. If we start now, it's going to take 50 years, not longer. You know, I won't see any fish in my life. But if we start on hatcheries and start working towards putting more fish into the systems, into the Salish Sea, into these rivers, that's going to take pressure off the natural stocks. So we as fishermen, tribal fishermen, stopped fishing early kings in the Nooksack River in the early 80s. That was, we did that, we put that on ourselves. The state didn't tell us to do it, the Fed didn't tell us to do it. We told us, our elders basically told us that that stock is getting low, you guys need to stop. So we haven't fished on the Nooksack River in early stocking since late 70s, early 80s. That stock is from April, May, and June. That's an important fish to our community because that's the first fish that comes back to us. But we decided, and we made the decision not to fish on those fish. We target some of the hatchery fish that time of year, but you know, as a tribe, I think we pumped back 500,000 in that early, or try to get back to our hatcheries is 500,000 in that early Chinook, and 1 million summer Chinook and fall Chinook. We pump 1 million smolt and fish back into the river to try to enhance those runs. I think we put in 2 million coho, but for some reason, we really have to think hard, and those fish are not making, a lot of those fish aren't making it back. They're not making it back in the numbers that we think we should be coming back. So there's something wrong from the river to the Salish Sea to the ocean. There's something wrong. Why aren't those fish coming back? Is it lack of estuaries that when they come out of the river they got to acclimate a little bit? Is it lack of estuaries and the conditions that our estuaries in? Or is there something wrong in the Salish Sea that is not letting them out? I think, or is our ocean conditions in a bad way? You know, I think at least in our ocean conditions they can swim and find good water. In my mind, I think there really is something wrong in the Salish Sea that is not letting them make it out. Either water conditions, predators, I want to, or is it the collaboration of all of the system from the river all the way to the ocean? But we have to start figuring out ways to get more fish into the system. Like I said before, that's going to be with hatcheries. Because with that Salish Sea needs food. It needs smolt. It needs small fish for everything that, for the bigger Chinook and the kings to feed on. That's what they feed on, is those small fish coming out of the river. The state has cut back dramatically in their hatchery program, so we're going to have to bump them a little bit, and the tribes are really pushing their hatcheries. So, like I said before, like the fish to the tribal people is so important. My grandmother, all the way, and how important this food and mental health is to this community. If we didn't have fishing in the way of life that our grandfathers had in their way of life of fishing, just think if our grandchildren or great-grandchildren will not have that ability to fish because there isn't anything to fish. That's a pretty sad thought. So with having not, I'm speaking as a fisherman, and knowing what it is for me and the pleasure it gives me to be able to work side by side with my grandchildren, my son, my daughters, my stepson. And that just what that does to a community is just, I don't even know how to put it in words, but that is the way of life. That is our core being, of being able to fish and be a community. That's all we have ever done in this community is fished. So it's our job as communities and tribal leaders to figure out how to keep fish and get more fish into the system. Last year, we didn't fish at all. Not in the Salish Sea, we didn't fish. Sockeye run were so bad that we didn't fish. And that was probably the first time I haven't fished sockeye in 50 years. In 2010, we had the biggest sockeye run since 1934. And to be able to see that, and my children to see that once in a lifetime run like that was amazing. Fish jumping everywhere. Smiles on people's faces, patting each other on the back. So that's what I talk about when I talk about mental health and well-being. That is who we are, and hopefully that's what we're always going to be. And for us to be able to teach our grandchildren and children to do the same thing and be able to fish is that someday I would like my grandchildren to tell stories about me as I tell about my grandparents. So, with that, I think that's about all I can really say today. And I want to leave with a message that we have to work together, and we have to get our three users groups in the same room. And Lisa's working on this, is try to get these 3 user groups in the same room where we can come to a real focus on producing more fish. There's a 4th user group that nobody likes to talk about. That's the seals and the sea lion, but I don't think we're going to get there. We're still trying to figure out how much they take, but they're taking a heck of a lot than we are right now, I know that. So, but that's one of the elephants in the room that nobody wants to talk about. Is the predator out of hand? But that's a discussion that people have to have, and not be scared to have that discussion. And with that, I can thank you again. And if you have any questions, let's.
Questions, comments, please.
You better ask them while GI is here.
Yeah. if you could introduce yourself, that would be great.
Naziam Jefferson. I want to thank Dana for the good words and history. I'm a senior for my Native Studies Leadership degree. I'll graduate in June. And, the things we're learning through our Indigenous studies, it would be a really good time to bring in the science part of it, because we are learning, a lot about who we are and our rights and everything. And one thing that I'd like to suggest, I have twin girls that are 8th grade, and they love science, animals, plants, everything. It'd be so awesome to get our younger youth involved with a lot of this creation, because they are our future. And so if we start working with them at a younger age while they're soaking in that education, we have that backbone, to keep moving forward, because your stories, and, and I've been writing a little bit of books about my stories, about fishing and, just different things in our life. And, that's something that a lot of us need to think about doing is, even if we record it, for our kids, it's our history of being out there in the water and being down at the river. I go by and I tell my kids, this water used to be clear, and it's something that our kids will never see, and that's heartbreaking too, and like you talked about, our changes that's taking place, it's, I'm not that old. I say I'm stuck at 39, but just within our life, the changes that's taking place here, and if we can make sure that our younger kids are absorbing a lot of this, to make sure that we do have our futures to keep moving forward. They're not going to be trying to read the books, but be learning it firsthand. Of how important this is for us as people. And especially when we have, I know there's others than just my twins that are, interested in science, but, I keep pushing them, and, as you were talking, I was sending them texts, the things you said, so I won't forget, of things that for them to look into, because they do a lot of reading and, watch the science channels and everything, so it plants something in their head, when you're wanting to look at something, look these things up. Spend some time with the history of you know, a lot of the things that you talked about. And, you know, in our class, you know, I talked about, you know, our elders lived off the season. You know, what's the easier way to go get wood than after a storm, you know? And, you know, and I used to watch the little clairvoyants go around and, you know, getting the wood that the fallen trees and, you know, and everything. And, you know, it's like our people lived. You know, they lived in an easy way, you know, but a healthy way. You know, and it's just, you know, hearing your story just really kind of enforced me to know that, you know, me thinking is, you know, the way our people were. You know, we knew the areas and everything. But anyways, not to get off track, but I just, you know, would like to, you know, if we do some meetings and stuff to get some of our younger kids involved and, you know, and make sure that we keep that intact with them for our future so that we can know that what we're doing is not going to be just read off the book or watched by, you know, film that our younger ones are actually taking part. Because, you know, Gary Brandt does really good with the science projects in my, you know, twins. I'd rather go to his Saturday class than go do something else. So, you know, it's just something important. So, hi, everybody.
Well, before there was one part I think I left out, and I was talking with, you know, I talked a lot about my grandmother and the things that she's taught me. Is I remember her sending me down to get those the kids call them grunters because they make a little noise when you poke them with a stick. They call them grunters. You know, she called them a squat. But at that same time, the Corps of Engineers, and Steve can remember this, Kim too, is in the mid-60s, in that same, on her beach and where we lived there for about a mile, the Corps of Engineers was trying to figure out how to shore up Longshore Road. So what they did at the meanest low water in June is we woke up one morning and there was big D8 cats pushing all the rocks from the meanest low water up into the banks. And that, you know, we would not do that today. The Corps would not do that today. We've learned that you know, that you just don't do that. So, but that was back then. Nobody even paid any attention. Nobody questioned it. Nobody even what about those little fish? Where are they going to go now? How are these people going to eat? But after, you know, as kids, we loved it because we got a sandy beach. That's where we wanted, you know, to swim on a sandy beach. You know, as kids, we didn't think much about pushing those boulders and those rocks up. But within 5 years, all those rocks were back in the same place. Same place. And that always baffled me, that how in the heck did that rock and those rocks and those boulders end up back in the same place within 5 years? Exact same place. But it took another 8 to 10 years for those fish to show back up. But they're back again, you know, they're resilient. But I just wanted to add that in there because how we can destroy things in the chain reaction of messing with one little rock or eelgrass, how that changes our world. So if there's any more questions.
You're getting on good. It's not a question. I just learned about this a couple of days ago, and I seen that you were going to be the speaker, and I wanted to come, and I wasn't going to say anything, and I really wanted to see how our education system was working. And, you know, I'm going to testify that I think it's working really well. I'm really proud of what you've been able to get up, because when you were younger, you wouldn't say hardly anything. And we've always been worried about where our next generation of leaders going to come from. Who's going to stand up and speak for our people, for the future generations. And I'm really am proud that you're able to. Jewel, I think, you know, the Northwest Indian College is a really good tool for our people. But it's going to be you teaching your kids what his grandmother taught him. They can come here and learn the new tools of how to do what his grandmother taught him. This system here isn't going to teach them that. It's going to be coming from here and from your grandfather, from your father that taught you. So that's, I just wanted to say that. I'm just really proud as heck and really pleased that there's this many people here listening to what you have to say.
So with that, we're going to close the event, and we can't thank you enough, Dana, and it means the world that you spoke, and the words that you said in terms of acknowledging the work that Dana is doing and the work of the college is exactly the intent that we're trying. So I really appreciate your words, and I truly appreciate you spending your afternoon with us here and then going to Miller Hall in the afternoon. And so we have Western. So we have a special gift for you, and I'm going to actually turn it over to your sister, Althea, to explain the gift. But I want to say thank you very much for your good work and your words. So, Althea?
First of all, I'd like to thank you all for coming and staying until the end, and the cooks and my elders for teaching me, and GI for coming from Northwest Indian Fishing Commission. It's really an honor to have you here today. And I would like to acknowledge Randy Kinley Sr. on this day as well. Thank you for being here. And of course our elders, Tim and his lovely wife, Laurel Blue. We do have a special guest as well, too, from SR3. Joanne came and gave us a really awesome speech yesterday about the otters and the seals and the whales, the mammals. And that was a beautiful connection to today, I believe. And then our friends from Whatcom County, thank you all for being here. I was in our teachers. I was asked to present a special gift to Dana for his speech today, and it was only timely that I decided that I was going to make him a cedar hat. But during that time, I had a picture of my late niece who's passed away, who used to come to the Northwest Indian College. And it was a picture of a crab, and it just so happened that this ended up on my counter the day that I was finishing my hat. And so I really felt it in my spirit that I was supposed to paint this design as a replica of a crab on Dana's hat. So that's yours from Crystal Jack. And Ms. Tietomson. I
speakers, and thank you for coming out. One more round of applause.
Well, it's very difficult when you guys got people like Jim, Steve, and some of these other guys that come before you that, you know, that can't pull their leg. So I'm glad that, yeah, I appreciate the words, and I really appreciate you being here. And I appreciate all of you for being here. You know, I had a great time, I enjoyed it, and I hope you did. Thank you.